Imagine you're sitting in a highly conservative, very polite 19th century colonial parlor.
Okay, setting the scene. I like it.
Right. So you are in Santiago, you're exhausted, and honestly, you just really want a stiff drink.
I mean, we've all been there, right?
Exactly. But, you know, society says doing shots of hard liquor in the middle of the afternoon is a huge no-go.
Yeah, definitely frowned upon in polite society.
So you look across the room at your friend, and you ask this completely innocent-sounding question. You say, shall we go have the 11?
The 11, it sounds like total nonsense.
Right, it makes no sense. But that little coded question is actually the secret origin of, like, the most wholesome cultural tradition in modern Chile.
It really is. And welcome to our table, everyone, for this deep dive.
Yes, welcome. Grab a coffee, pull up a chair, and just get comfortable. We are bringing that warm, natural, no more freezing vibe today.
For sure. Today, we are taking a huge culinary journey to a country that is, famously long, narrow, and just packed with wild flavors.
And if you've ever, looked at a menu in a foreign country and just felt paralyzed, we are here to thaw you out.
Oh, that menu panic is so real. You just step off the plane and suddenly ordering lunch feels like a pop quiz you didn't study for.
Exactly. So today, we are giving you the ultimate cheat sheet for Chilean cuisine.
And we have some amazing sources to guide us today. We're pulling from the National Library's Cocina y Familia, some great local blogs, and historical deep dives.
We even have a bunch of interviews from international travelers who experienced this food for the very first time.
Yeah, so our mission today is basically decoding all of this for you. Not just what's on the plate, but the history of why it's there.
Because, honestly, discovering a country through its stomach is the absolute best way to travel.
Oh, absolutely. No question.
So I want to jump right back into that 19th century parlor story. You mentioned the code word, the 11.
Right, the 11.
I know that in Chile today, there's a daily meal called la once, which literally means the 11.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. It's basically their version of afternoon tea, happening between 5 and 7 p.m.
So wait, how do we get from a wholesome afternoon tea to a secret code for day drinking?
Well, it's actually one of the coolest linguistic evolutions in South America, I think.
Okay, lay it on me.
So back in colonial times, the drink of choice for workers and secretly for the wealthy folks too was aguardiente.
Aguardiente, that means burning water, right?
Exactly. It's this super strong, clear liquor. And if you spell out the word Aguardiente, it has exactly 11 letters.
Oh my gosh, that is brilliant.
Right. So workers, or even women who weren't allowed to drink in public, would say they were going for La Once as a cover to take a shot.
It's like a prohibition speakeasy password just hiding in plain sight.
Exactly. And over the decades, as, labor laws changed and drinking at work became less acceptable, the liquor was replaced by tea and coffee.
But the name just stuck around.
Yeah, it completely cemented itself in the culture. Now it's the ultimate social glue in Chile.
It really is. I was looking at this Instagram account called Proyecto Once, and it just catalogs daily photos of this meal from all over the country.
Oh, I've seen that. It's so fascinating.
It really is. You see photos from a fancy high-rise apartment and then a picture from a tiny rural farmhouse. And the setup is basically identical.
Yeah, it totally transcends income and geography.
Even young people living alone in the city will literally set a full table just for themselves to have La Once.
Because it's not really about the calories, It's a psychological transition.
Like winding down from the stress of the day.
Exactly. It grounds you. And we have to talk about the absolute centerpiece of that grounding mechanism.
The bread.
Oh, yeah. The sheer volume of bread in Chile is just staggering. They eat about 90 kilos of bread per person every year.
Wait, 90 kilos? That's almost 200 pounds of bread per person.
I know. It sounds wild.
I mean, I have to push back a little here. With everyone freaking out about carbs these days, how is that not a massive health crisis?
Well, it really comes down to their agrarian history and the specific type of bread they eat.
Okay, so it's not just highly processed supermarket bread in a plastic bag.
Definitely not. Historically, Chile grew massive amounts of wheat, and bread was just the cheapest fuel for heavy labor, like mining and farming.
Got it. So it was functional.
Yeah, and the undisputed king of bread there is the marraqueta. It makes up about 53% of all bread sales.
The marraqueta. What makes it so special mechanically?
It's actually a triumph of simple baking. There's zero fat in a traditional marraqueta, just flour, water, yeast, and salt.
Wait, really? No oil or butter at all?
None. The magic is all in the baking process. They bake it in these clusters of 4 small rolls, scored down the middle so you can snap them apart.
Oh, I love bread you can just tear apart with your hands.
It's the best. And when it bakes, they blast the oven with a ton of steam.
So what does the steam actually do to the dough?
It basically gelatinizes the starches on the surface, which lets it stretch out and form this incredibly thick, crispy crust.
But the inside stays fluffy.
Exactly. It's airy and light inside. It is literally engineered to be the perfect delivery system for mashed avocado or palta.
Because the crust is strong enough to hold wet avocado without getting soggy. That is genius.
Right. But there is a runner-up bread we should mention, the halala.
Ah, yes, the halula. It has about 21% of the market, right?
Yeah. And it's basically the exact opposite of the maricetta. It's flat, round, and it does have fat in it, usually shortening or lard.
So it's much denser and richer.
Very dense. They usually prick the top with a fork so it doesn't rise too much.
I can imagine that sitting pretty heavy in your stomach on a cold day.
Oh, for sure. And, travelers always mention that whenever you sit down in a Chilean restaurant, you immediately get a basket of warm bread.
Yes, but they don't serve it with butter, do they?
Nope. They serve it with a little bowl of pebre.
Pebre. That stuff is amazing. It's like a really bright, spicy salsa.
Yeah, it's chopped tomatoes, white onions, garlic, a local green chili, and just huge amounts of fresh cilantro.
The acid from the tomatoes and the raw onion must just perfectly cut through the heavy bread.
It totally wakes up your palate. But, we should probably take this food journey out of the dining room and into the street.
Let's do it. Because if bread rules the house, the sopapilla definitely rules the sidewalk.
Oh, monarch of the sidewalk, for sure. It's the ultimate democratic street food.
It really doesn't matter who you are. You could be an executive in a tailored suit in a wealthy neighborhood or a blue-collar worker.
Right. The second the sky turns gray and that freezing winter rain starts, literally everyone crowds around the same metal street carts.
So for someone who's never seen one, what exactly is a sopapilla?
At its core, it's just a flat desk of fried dough. Frying dough in animal fat is a super ancient way to get fast calories in freezing weather.
But the Chilean version changes depending on where you are in the country, right?
Yeah, because Chile is like 4,000 kilometers long. The geography really dictates the recipe.
Right, from the desert down to the glaciers. How does the dough change?
Well, up in the northern deserts, they are massive, like dinner plate sized, and just made of simple wheat dough.
Wow, huge. And in the south?
Down south, where it's super wet and freezing, they shrink them down, they make them thicker, often diamond-shaped, so you can stuff them in your pocket.
Pocket bread. But the most famous one, the one in Santiago, is bright yellow. Why is it yellow?
That is the genius of the Central Valleys. They mix in a local pumpkin called zapallo.
They put pumpkin directly in the dough.
Yeah, they boil it until it's super soft, mash it, and knead it right into the flour before frying.
Mechanically speaking, besides the color, what does pumpkin actually do to the dough?
It totally changes the hydration and sugar levels. The moisture keeps the inside steamy and soft, even when the outside is fried crispy.
Oh, wow. And the natural sugars probably caramelize in the hot oil.
Exactly. It gives it this subtle, earthy sweetness you just can't get from plain flour.
That sounds so good. So you buy this hot orange-yellow disc on the street. Do you eat it sweet or savory?
You can actually do both. The standard street way is savory. They hand it to you hot, and you just spoon that spicy pebre right over it.
Oh, the hot dough probably warms up the raw onions and releases all those flavors.
Yes. The fat of the oil and the acid of the salsa is a perfect match.
But wait, I know there's a winter dessert version, too.
Yes. So papillas pasadas. Pasadas roughly means passed through.
Pass through what?
A boiling pot of dark syrup called chancaca. It's raw, unrefined cane sugar melted with orange peels, cloves, and cinnamon.
So they just dunk the fried dough into boiling spiced syrup.
Yep, it absorbs the syrup and basically turns into a warm spiced bread pudding.
That is the ultimate cure for a rainy day.
Yeah.
But speaking of street food, we have to talk about the Completo Italiano.
Oh, the Chilean hot dog. It is a masterpiece of adapting foreign food to a local palate.
Because the hot dog is obviously an American invention. How did it get to Chile?
A businessman named Eduardo Bahamonde saw them in the U.S. in the 1920s and opened a shop in downtown Santiago.
So he brings the basic mustard and ketchup dog over. When does it become the Completo Italiano?
That happened later when an Italian family took over the shop. They looked at the plain sausage and decided it needed way more flavor and volume.
So they added 3 very specific things, right?
Right. Diced tomatoes, mashed avocado, and a ton of mayonnaise.
And if you look at those colors, the green avocado, white mayo, and red tomato, it's literally the Italian flag.
Exactly. Hence, the Completo Italiano.
It is like they took a basic working-class American snack and put it in a custom-tailored tuxedo made of fresh produce.
I love that analogy.
But practically speaking, I've seen photos of these things. There are mountains of wet ingredients on a tiny bun. How do you even hold it?
Yeah, foreigners are always shocked by the scale. Our source mentions a traveler from the U.S., Jill, who was just blown away by the sheer size of it.
Right. How does it not just instantly collapse in your hands?
Well, it comes back to the structural engineering of the avocado. They don't just put a few slices on top.
They mash it.
Right. Yeah, they aggressively smear a really thick layer of mashed palta right over the slippery diced tomatoes.
So the avocado acts like culinary cement.
Exactly. It locks the tomatoes in place and gives the mayonnaise a flat, stable platform so it doesn't slide off.
That is brilliant design.
It really is. And the flavor is so complex. Salty sausage, acidic tomatoes, rich avocado, and creamy mayo.
It's so beloved that they even have a National Completo Day, right?
And May 24th, everyone floods the streets. There are huge discounts. It's just a massive calorie-dense party.
Civic pride wrapped into carbohydrate. I love it. But let's shift gears from the fast street food to the home kitchen.
Good idea. Things get very different indoors.
Yeah, when you look at the heavy winter stews, you really see a theme of resilience. Like, this food is about straight-up survival.
That's a crucial point. The geography can be super unforgiving, and the country has faced some brutal economic depressions.
So the food had to stretch every single calorie.
Wasting nothing. And the cazuela is the perfect embodiment of that.
Calling a cazuela a soup feels like an insult. It's so much more.
It really is. Mechanically, it's a slow extracted bone broth. You simmer a huge piece of beef on the bone or chicken for hours.
Which breaks down all the collagen. It makes the broth super thick and rich.
Right, it literally coats the spoon. But what makes it uniquely Chilean is how they serve it.
Because they don't chalk anything up, do they?
Nope, it is incredibly rustic. You get the big piece of meat on the bone, a whole potato, a massive wedge of pumpkin, and half an ear of corn.
All just swimming in the broth with some cilantro on top.
Yeah, so you can't just passively eat it. You have to actively cut the squash, scrape the corn, tear the meat.
It forces you to slow down and really interact with the meal.
Exactly. Now, if you take those exact same ingredients but change the cooking method entirely, you get the charqui con.
Charqui con. That's essentially a deconstructed, mashed-up cazuela, right?
Similar flavors, but totally different texture. It's a very thick, heavy stew.
The name comes from charqui, right?
Yeah.
Like jerky.
Yeah. Indigenous, dried, salted meat. Today they use minced beef, but you boil everything until it's soft, and then you just roughly mash it all together in the pot.
So it's not a smooth puree, it's chunky and heavy.
Perfect for sustaining you through a day of hard labor. And the best part is they top it with a sunny-side-up fried egg.
Oh, man. Breaking that yolk into the hot mashed veggie sounds amazing.
It enriches the whole thing with this velvety fat.
Okay, so that's rural survival. But you mentioned economic depressions earlier, and there's this one dish born out of macroeconomic disaster that blew my mind.
You're talking about sopa de pan, poor man's soup.
Yes. Walk me through the history of this because it's fascinating.
So early 20th century, Chile's economy was massively reliant on exporting saltpeter or sodium nitrate from the northern deserts.
That was used for fertilizer and gunpowder globally, right?
Exactly. They basically had a monopoly and the economy was booming. But then World War I happens.
And the British blockaded shipments to Germany.
Right. So Germany, out of sheer desperation, had these scientists, Haber and Bosch, invent a way to artificially synthesize nitrates from the air.
The Haber-Bosch process.
Oh.
Which changed the world but completely destroyed Chile's saltpeter industry overnight.
Exactly. By 1915, the market totally crashed, the currency devalued, and food prices went through the roof.
So people suddenly couldn't afford basic groceries. What do?
They turned to extreme zero-waste cooking. Bread goes stale fast, but you couldn't afford to throw away a rock-hard marraquita.
So they made soup out of it.
Yeah, they'd tear the stale bread into chunks, fry it in a tiny bit of fat with onions and garlic, and then pour boiling water over it.
But doesn't the bread just turn into disgusting mush?
No, because frying it coats the starches in fat, so it expands and creates this really thick, filling porridge instead of dissolving.
It basically tricked the stomach into feeling full when meat was an impossible luxury.
That is incredible ingenuity.
And you see that same zero-waste logic in sweet things, too, like collegiales?
Right, the bakeries had the same problem with unsold bread getting hard. Exactly, so they'd soak the stale bread in cheap milk, Add sugar and eggs, bake it in large trays, and sell squares of it to school kids for pennies.
Collegiales literally means school kids.
Yep. It fed the kids and saved the bakeries from losing money.
It is so amazing how recipes hold the DNA of a country's history. But food is also about emotional survival.
Oh, absolutely.
There's a story from the National Library Archives about a man named Don Annable that just really stuck with me.
Yes, that is a very profound primary source. And just as a quick note for our listeners, we are impartially reporting the contents of these historical archives here.
Right, so this is a recipe note written by his daughter, Edith, right?
Yeah. She wrote about her father being detained during the military dictatorship. He was in a cell with several other men.
And they had to take turns cooking whatever tiny rations they could get.
And she specifically notes he was not a good cook.
Right.
But he remembered this one simple stew from home, just meat, potatoes, and cheap wine.
And he would make that one dish for his cellmates when it was his turn.
Exactly. The takeaway is that even in total isolation and fear, the physical act of providing a hot meal was a way to hold on to their humanity.
It redefines comfort food. You're giving someone warmth when the whole world is cold.
It really is a powerful story about community.
And speaking of putting your heart into food, that leads us straight to Pinot, right? The filling for the Chilean empanada.
Pinot is the undisputed flavor of the nation, hands down.
So a traditional baked empanada there has a slightly sweet dough, but the filling is this Pinot stuff. What's in it?
The base is minced beef cooked down super slowly with a massive amount of onions, cumin, and a sweet paprika called ají de color.
But the surprises are what they toss in next. Travelers are always so confused by this.
Oh yeah, it throws Europeans off all the time.
Because you bite into it, and there's a chunk of hard-boiled egg, a black olive, and sweet raisins in with the beef.
It sounds totally chaotic to a modern palate.
It really does. Savory beef and sweet raisins.
You have to look at the historical lineage. The Spanish brought the empanada over, but Spanish cuisine was heavily influenced by the Moorish occupation.
Ah, so Middle Eastern and North African flavors.
Exactly. They love mixing savory meats with dried fruits and briny olives. The Spanish brought that concept across the ocean, and it got locked into the Chilean recipe.
You're literally biting into a timeline of global conquest. And the word Pinot is indigenous, isn't it?
Yeah, the Mapuche people in the south speak Mapudungun. They had a word piru for minced meat.
Piru evolved into Pinot.
Yep. As the cultures blended, the language shifted.
Okay, so there is this great piece of slang, ponerle Pinot, which translates to putting Pinot into it.
Great phrase.
People use it to mean putting a massive amount of effort into something, right? Like studying hard for a test.
Yes, putting your back into it.
But my question is, if Pinot is just meat and onions, how does that equal hard work?
It's all about the physical labor required to cook it right. You can't rush Pinot.
You have to chop the onions really fine.
Very fine. And then you have to stir them over low heat for hours so they caramelize. If you leave the onions crunchy, they ferment inside the baked empanada and give you terrible indigestion.
Oh, wow. So you literally cannot take a shortcut.
No shortcuts. You have to stand there and dedicate your time. So when you put Pinot into a task, it means you're doing the slow, patient labor required to make it excellent.
That makes perfect sense. I love that. Now, if the cazuela and the empanada are the kings of winter, we need to talk about summer.
Oh, the summer crown jewel.
A dish so good that Taste Atlas recently voted it the #1 best casserole in the whole world, the pastel de choclo.
Calling it a casserole almost feels insulting. It is a masterpiece.
And it's strictly a summer dish because of the corn, right?
Yes. They use the word choclo, which comes from the Quechua language, for this very specific type of corn.
How is choclo different from, like, the sweet yellow corn I'd eat at a summer BBQ?
It's structurally totally different. American sweet corn is bred to pop with water and sugar when you bite it.
Right, it's juicy.
Choclo is huge, pale, and incredibly starchy. The kernels are tough. You would never just boil it and eat it on the cob.
But when you grind it down, that starch becomes magic. Walk me through how they actually build this dish.
Okay, so the foundation is the Pinot we just talked about. Savory beef, onions, olives, raisins, egg.
A heavy, savory base layer.
Often with a piece of chicken added too. Then you take that starchy choclo, grind it up, and cook it in a pot with milk, butter, and basil.
Until it turns into a thick paste.
Exactly, like a sweet corn pudding. You trowel a thick layer of that paste over the meat, completely sealing it in.
A savory basement and a sweet roof.
And the crucial final touch, You sprinkle granulated sugar all over the top of the wet corn and blast it in a super hot oven.
So the sugar caramelizes and forms the crust.
Yes, you have to break through the sweet, crispy, golden crust to get to the savory, bubbling meat below.
It sounds like a culinary tug of war.
Yeah.
The heavy beef grounds you, and the sweet basil corn lifts you up.
It's like shepherd's pie when on a tropical vacation. That is exactly what it's like. And they always bake it in a librillo de greda, a rustic, unglazed clay bowl.
Does the clay actually change the cooking?
Massively. Clay holds so much thermal mass, it stays blazing hot on the table, so the edges of the corn paste get perfectly scorched and crispy.
It sounds amazing.
Yeah,
And historically, this dish is the literal embodiment of cultural collision.
it really is. The Spanish conquerors missed their meat empanadas from home, but the indigenous cooks they relied on viewed choclo as a sacred ingredient.
So the Spanish demand meat, and the indigenous cooks cap it with their sacred corn instead of wheat dough.
Exactly. It's where the European palate smashed into indigenous agriculture, creating something completely new.
And making this back in the day was not like a quick Tuesday night dinner.
Oh no, it was a massive family operation. In our sources, there's a great memoir about families traveling to the town of Lamash just to buy the best corn.
And then they bring it back, and everyone goes to work.
People are dispatched to catch and pluck the chickens, others are peeling hundreds of ears of corn, and the kids are forced to crank these heavy cast iron grinders.
Just to grind the kernels down. It's exhausting just thinking about it.
But then the whole family sits under a grape arbor and eats this blazing hot meal together. The labor was the social event.
That makes total sense.
Yeah.
But let's zoom out a bit. Chile is 4,000 kilometers long. That's like New York to LA.
Exactly. So there's no single Chilean cuisine. The north has quinoa and llama, the center has the wheat and corn, but the deep south.
The south is wild. Glaciers, fjords, and a ton of potatoes and seafood.
Which brings us to the Curanto.
The Curanto is ancient, pre-Hispanic cooking at its most intense.
It literally means stony ground, right? From Curanto.
Yes, because you don't cook it in a kitchen, you dig a massive pit in the dirt.
It's a giant hole in the ground.
You line it with smooth river stones, build a huge bonfire on top of them, and let it burn until the stones are glowing red hot.
So you make a thermal battery in the earth. What goes on the hot rocks? A mountain of seafood. Clams, mussels, giant barnacles. Then smoked pork, chicken, and these potato dumplings called milcaos and chapaleles.
All raw, just sitting on hot rocks in the dirt. How does it not get ruined when you bury it?
They use nauca leaves. It's this native Chilean rhubarb with gargantuan leaves like a meter wide. They wrap the entire mound of food in the leaves, creating a waterproof dome.
Oh, wow. And then they shovel dirt over the leaves to seal the pit. So how does it actually cook underground?
The heat vaporizes the liquid in the shellfish. They pop open and create a massive cloud of briny steam. But the pit is sealed, so it acts like a pressure cooker.
So the steam is forced up, cooking the pork and the potatoes all at once.
Exactly. It's earth, fire, and water trapped in a hole.
But you can't just do that on a whim for two people.
No, it requires a village. It's for major community events, like a minga.
A minga is when the whole town helps you move a house or harvest a field, right?
Yeah, and you pay them back by throwing a massive curanto.
The ultimate manual labor potluck. And speaking of the ocean, we have to touch on the caldillo de cangrejo.
Conger eel soup. So rich, so flavorful. They boil the head and bones for stock, add wine, tomatoes, and huge medallions of eel that stay super firm.
Pablo Neruda literally wrote a famous poem about it, Ode to Conger Chowder.
He did. He called it a boon to man. But if you want a messier seafood experience, you go for carritos al vapor. Steamed mussels.
Our sources say eating these is super interactive.
Very. They just drop a giant steaming pot of wine and garlic mussels on the table. No forks allowed.
You just use your hands.
Yeah, you pull out a mussel, eat the meat, and then use that empty shell as a set of pincers to pluck the next one out.
Using the food as the utensil. I love that. And you just build a mountain of empty shells on the table as you talk and drink.
It is so loud and communal.
Okay, we've eaten so much heavy food, we need a drunk. Let's talk about the craziest looking street drink ever. Mote con huesillo.
The king of the Santiago summer. But yeah, it looks like a science experiment to foreigners.
They hand you a clear cup, and the bottom third is filled with cooked wheat.
Yes, husked wheat called mote,
Above that is a dark amber liquid.
which is made from boiling dehydrated peaches, or husillos, in water with chancaca sugar, cinnamon, and lemon peel.
And floating at the top are whole rehydrated peaches, pit and all.
Exactly.
So it's an iced tea that had a baby with a bowl of oatmeal. You literally need a spoon and a straw to consume it.
You drink the cold juice to cool off and spoon the chewy wheat to get some energy.
But why put wheat in a drink?
It's a colonial fusion. The Spanish brought the wheat and peaches, but the indigenous Andean people used an alkaline process with ash to husk the wheat, making it digestible moat.
So it was a high-calorie liquid lunch for laborers working in the hot sun.
Exactly. Popularized in the 1930s by a guy named Alberto Bravo outside the Equestrian Club.
The king of Motocan Huesio.
The very same.
Now, if that's summer, winter belongs to cola de mono. Monkey's tail.
The ultimate Christmas drink. It's like eggnog, but made with milk, coffee, cloves, sugar, and strong alcohol, usually aguardiente or pisco.
Coffee and cloves. Where does the name monkey's tail come from?
Legend says a politician named Pedro Montt was served aguardiente in melted coffee ice cream at a parlor. They called it cola de Montt as a joke, and it eventually warped into cola de mono.
That is hilarious. And it uses pisco, which is the national grape spirit from the Elqui Valley.
Distilled there since the 1700s.
And there's that crazy story about pirates.
Yes. In 1680, English pirates like Bartholomew Sharp attacked the coastal city of La Serena.
So the early pisco producers panicked and fled inland, hiding their barrels in the remote valleys.
Which inadvertently pushed the industry into the perfect microclimate.
Pirates accidentally saving the liquor industry. Amazing.
Yeah.
And speaking of alcohol, Christmas in Santiago used to be wild, right?
Oh, up until 1910, everyone would flood the main avenue after midnight mass and drink spiked fruit punch until dawn.
But they banned it. Why?
Because the next morning, the parks were full of people durmiendo la mona.
Sleeping the monkey.
Right.
Which means sleeping off a massive hangover.
The hangovers literally shut down the city, so they outlawed the street parties.
Unbelievable. Okay, we've covered the secret codes, the giant hot dogs, the underground pits, and the pirate liquor. Let's look at how foreigners actually react to all this.
The consensus is usually pretty profound. Hazel from Turkey was just obsessed with how cheap and abundant avocado is there compared to Europe.
And Benita from Poland fell in love with merkin.
Merkin is amazing. It's indigenous smoked chili peppers ground with toasted coriander. She started putting it on everything, even fruit.
But some travelers do admit the carb load is a bit intense at first.
It's heavy food. But everyone's turning point is the asado, the Chilean barbecue.
Because it's not just about the meat, is it?
No, the food is just an excuse to stand around the fire for hours, drinking, talking, and sharing.
Everyone realizes that you aren't just digesting ingredients, you're digesting the warmth of the host.
Exactly. The hospitality is unpretentious and designed to pull you into their circle.
Food literally tastes better when the people treat you like family. Well, we have covered so much ground today on No More Freezing.
We really have.
From the Laonce codes to the democratic sopapilla, the zero-waste survival stews, the underground curanto, and the crazy Motocan Huesio. You guys are officially thought out and ready to read a Chilean menu.
It's been an incredible journey. And before we go, I want to leave everyone with one final thought.
Let's hear it.
We talked about how dishes like sopa de pan came from economic crashes and pastel de choclo came from violent cultural collisions. These are today's beloved comfort foods, but they were born from the chaos of the past.
Right.
It makes you wonder, with all the modern crises and global shifts happening right now, what new, weird survival meals are being thrown together in kitchens today that will become the sacred traditional comfort foods of the year 2100.
Wow.
So next time you throw some random mismatched leftovers together from the back of your fridge, pay attention. You might be inventing the next national dish.
Necessity truly is the mother of delicious invention. Thank you all for joining our deep dive today. Do yourselves a favor. Go find a local Chilean bakery, grab a marraqueta, maybe mash some palta, and share it with a friend. We will save a seat for you at the table next time.